Hello, Chula Vista. Good morning and welcome back to Innovation Live. I'm Mrs. Hughes with the Energy Station. The Energy Station is one of a family of career-themed makerspaces in our Chula Vista Elementary School District, located at the South Branch Chula Vista Public Library. Our focus there is to teach about potential careers in the clean energy industry and educate all of our students there about the value of renewable energy sources. I'd like to take a moment to thank our station partners, the Chula Vista Elementary School District, the Chula Vista Public Libraries, our City of Chula Vista, SDG&E, NECA, and IVW, who keep our program going all school year long. So today's live event is Measuring the Wind. Now, as we move into fall, this is a great topic to learn about, and you can do some of your own measurements at home with this very simple build we're going to do today. Behind the scenes, I have Mr. Bruder, Ms. Quiros, and Coach Ramirez, who are with me to moderate the chat and take all your questions. And at the end, we're going to have another Kahoot game. So let's go ahead and get started. Think about the ways the wind affects our everyday lives. Have you ever been annoyed by the wind? I know I have. Maybe it was a time I was having lunch outside and the wind just blew away my paper plate. Or say there's papers that are near an open window or a door. It just takes a small gust of wind to blow them all away. However, the wind can actually be very helpful to us in many ways. So I want you to think of ways we might use the wind in science or even for recreational fun. So my first question to ask of you this morning is, what is a way that the wind can be helpful? I'll come back and share all your ideas. So our build today is going to be in a couple parts. We're first going to be building something called an anemometer. Now I know that's a tongue twister, so we're going to practice together by breaking it up into syllables. So look at this graphic. An, E, mom, iter, anemometer. All right, great job trying that. Well, what is an anemometer? It's actually a weather device that measures the speed of the wind. And this comes in very handy with understanding how storms work, or for aircraft or even boats that have to travel through these gusty winds. Just recently, you may have heard that we had hurricane-like weather. Yes, hurricanes near California. It was called Hurricane K. And the scientists who were watching its movement had to track this hurricane's speed. They communicated that to the public so we could be safe here on land. At one point, Hurricane K was measured at almost 100 miles an hour. Now, fortunately for us on the Pacific Coast, we rarely see anything like K, and really no destruction came from it. However, in other parts of the United States, hurricane season happens every year, and people need to know how to prepare themselves. So an anemometer measures speed, while a wind vane shows direction. Now, a wind vane tells us where the wind is coming from and going to. Wind vanes, like you see here, are mostly for decoration, but scientists are always using fancy digital wind vanes to be much more accurate. Now, do you know your directions? These are specifically called cardinal directions. If you don't, here they are: north, south, east, and west. A good way to remember all four are never eat soggy waffles. I know, pretty funny. I hope you didn't have soggy waffles this morning. So we saw an example of how hurricane winds cannot be helpful. However, I want to know from you if you could think of ways the wind can be helpful. Maybe this picture will give you a clue. Can you think of any examples of how we enjoy the wind or how we use it for good? So, Mr. Bruder, do we have any suggestions out there from our viewers this morning?
Hey, Mrs. Hughes. Yes, we have a whole bunch. Sophia mentioned help with sailing.
Perfect.
Charlotte mentioned help with flying a kite. We also had Nolan share that it would help with powering our homes and generating power. So I'm thinking wind turbines, maybe.
I wonder if he went to our energy station experience recently. Yes, wind turbines are definitely a good one.
Bryson also mentioned providing cool air. Mrs. Barton's class also mentioned to breathe and for plants and for boats.
Oh, perfect. That's really great to think about the plants part, because yes, plants do need air. I mean, sunlight and water are important, but they need to be able to breathe. You can't really grow a plant in a closed environment, at least not most of them. That's fantastic. Well, since we are creating a wind instrument, we are going to be taking on the role of a wind turbine service technician. These are mechanics who make sure that wind turbines are functioning properly. Now, these turbines produce clean, renewable energy for a city. So if the turbines are not spinning, they can't make electricity. Now we're going to watch this really quick video to see if you would like to do this job, perhaps when you get older. Watch this.
When it comes to green energy, it doesn't get much bigger or more spectacular than fields of wind turbines spinning high in the sky. Wind turbine service technicians, also known as wind techs, install and repair wind turbines. They monitor turbines electronically 24/7 from a central office and travel to the worksite to troubleshoot problems and conduct routine maintenance. Wind turbine technicians may service underground components as well as climb to the top of towers for inspections or to replace components. Strength and stamina are important qualities for wind techs, in addition to the mechanical and problem-solving skills they use once they're off the ground. Since they're often working on turbines over 200 feet high and in cramped spaces, techs need to be able to keep a cool head and an eye on the details. Wind farms are often isolated, so wind techs travel to rural areas and with their work partner, operate as their own first responders in case of an accident. Most work full-time and may be on call on evenings and weekends. Most wind techs learn their trade by earning a certificate in wind energy at a technical school or community college. Once hired, they gain more than 12 months of on-the-job training for the specific wind turbines they service. With an eye on a sustainable future, wind turbine service technicians play a crucial role in providing clean energy for the world.
All right, wow, that's pretty cool. So how many of you would like to maybe do that type of work out in the field? I don't know if I could do that. That height looks a little high for me. Well, let's go ahead and dive into our engineering process for this build. Again, we are making an anemometer, and so we put down the problem, which is, can we design a tool to measure its wind speed? And creating an anemometer. We're going to have our own DIY anemometer this morning. Our first step of our engineering design process is to ask ourselves questions about the topic. So what questions do you have? I might be asking to myself, well, what kind of materials are strong enough? What could be good to make this anemometer that's not going to fall apart in strong weather? I might be asking myself, are the wind speeds, because I am measuring these wind speeds, are they the same throughout the whole day? Are they same at different times of the day? Are they different? Like, is it slower and faster? So I'm kind of curious about how that's going to work. Now, again, those questions make me wonder and think, what are you guys thinking about? So during our build, I'd like you to type in the chat and answer to either one of these two questions. First question is, what wonderings do you have about the weather? You've already talked about hurricanes, but we know there's other types of severe weather out there. Are you curious about any of those? What are some wonderings you have? We might be able to answer. Secondly, what activity would you like to try that uses the wind? I heard someone say fly a kite. That sounds like a lot of fun. So maybe you would like to try that. Think of some activities that maybe use wind outdoors, and we'll come back to some of those suggestions a little bit later. So our next step is to imagine, and again, I have some examples of how I've imagined wind in the process and its use. What do I know about other objects that capture the wind? Again, that kite definitely makes sense to me, but I see some other ones there. Can you identify some of those, friends? And can I copy some of these into something that I've used or seen before, would maybe modify it. Our next step is going to plan. So I already have some activity, some parts that we're going to be using today, and hopefully you and your teacher have something as well at your table. But we're going to be building these anemometers with these must-haves. So take a look at with me. These are for an individual person, but if you're doing it as a group, this will make one anemometer. You're going to need first 4 small paper cups. Those are like those little bathroom cups you use. Bigger ones are fine, but it might be a little big for your pencil, which we're going to need also, that's on the picture. You'll need 2 straws, preferably paper straws. Again, a pencil with an eraser top, that's important. So hopefully your eraser top hasn't been completely worn down. We're going to need a push pin, and be safe with the push pin. You might need an adult to help you. Some construction paper, tape, and then other helpful supplies that you'll need, of course, for crafting, like scissors, crayons, or markers. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch over to my doc cam to show you my materials, and we'll see if we can go ahead and get started with that. See if we can get to that. I hope you guys are thinking about all the different things you could possibly be building or possibly be wanting to do as far as an activity goes. I felt some pretty gusty winds the other day myself. Oh, let's see, we might have some issues with our doc cam, so we can get that to go one more time. All right, so just give me 1 second. We'll see if we can get that camera to work one more time.
While you're doing that, Mrs. Hughes, can I share a couple more answers to our first question?
Absolutely.
Charlotte shared about how wind sometimes helps on a hot day, can help cool down because of a nice breeze, and we sure have had a lot of those in the last few weeks.
Yep.
Ava also referenced that the wind can help make energy. Have some great questions that people have around that as well.
Okay.
I
think it's helpful too. I was going to interrupt Mr. Bruder. I think it's helpful to have that air with the wind, natural air coming from our windows, rather than using an air conditioner all the time, because that's going to take up a lot more energy as well. So if you can get natural air from your window, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, I'm going to try one more time here, Mr. Bruder. If not, I think we're just going to be using the camera. So unfortunately, Mr. Greer, I don't think my camera is going to be working too well this morning. So we'll go ahead and I'll just show everyone off of my camera here how we're going to make our anemometer. It's actually a pretty simple build. So I'll slow down in case you miss a piece. Okay. So first of all, let me show you what the anemometer is going to look like. This is mine here. Okay. If you notice, I have my 4 cups. I have my 2 straws, the pencil, a pin, and the construction paper. So now you're going to know what we're going to be using our pieces for. All right. Okay, so first step is going to be, put this to the side. You get to decorate your cups. Okay, so I have these bathroom cups, and I noticed with mine, I don't know about yours, friends, but these have a little bit of a like a wax film to it. So I don't think my crayons are going to do so well on this. So I brought my markers instead, and I'm just going to decorate something on here just to make it fun. Now, if you can, maybe make at least one of them a different color, or put some sort of fun symbol, because I'm going to teach you later how to measure the speed, and you're going to want to pick out a color or pick out something that stands out to you. So go ahead and take a moment, friends. I'm going to color mine. I'll give you guys some minutes to color yours. And I'm just going to put maybe a different symbol or decoration on each one. So I think my first one I'm going to make is going to be maybe some wind currents. And I'm using a marker, not crayons, because again, my cup isn't going to hold it very well. Maybe put some clouds on here. And say this is the most unique, creative. I know you guys can come up with some really creative designs. That's my first cup. So there's my wind. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make maybe, I have a green marker here. Since we're all about the environment, I think I'm gonna make some leaves on this one. I know this is kind of, hopefully it's just kind of a fun, therapeutic coloring session for you guys. It's the last day of school, right? Something to kind of ease your way into the weekend. I'm gonna make like kind of a vine of leaves on this one. All right, so there I go. I got some leaves, just some shapes just to make it distinctive. I have my orange marker here. What can I make that's gonna be orange? All right, maybe I'll just make a sun. All right. I can't wait to hear some of those things you guys would like to try your activities using the wind. Maybe it's something you guys can be doing over break. You never know with this weather. Actually, I heard it's going to be pretty hot this weekend. Maybe some of that wind would be great to cool down. All right, we'll make one more sun here. Maybe some of you already have paper cups that have decorations on them. You can kind of color those in. So there's my sun. All right, I'm going to do one more. Then friends, our next step is, if you want to get ready, is we're going to be using the straws and the tape next. So teachers, if you want to get ready for that. And as far as the tape goes, for this project, you're going to need about 5 to 6 small pieces of tape, probably about this, like the length of your finger, your pinky. So if you want to get those off ready to the side, that might be a good idea as you're finishing your decorations. There's my little happy face. Kind of hard to see. He's bright yellow. Okay. So I have my 4 cups all decorated right here. I'm close to my body. And as I said, the next step is we're going to take our straws. So I have my 2 paper straws. Depending on the length of these, you know, this will still work, but you know, I think this is like the standard size for straws. I'm going to go ahead and pull off some of my tape to the side as well. About 5 small pieces of tape. Just have those ready to go. Now here's the first part you're going to need to do. And so if you have a partner, maybe you two can help each other out, because some of this requires a little bit of fine motor skills. But I'm going to take my first cup. Use the blue cup. I'm going to take my first cup, and here's the straw. Imagine that I'm doing this on the table. Okay, so here's the table. I'm going to take the straw and I'm going to tape it to the top of the cup. Okay, so this is the top of the cup. I'm going to tape it just like this, horizontally. This is horizontal. Think of like the horizon at the ocean. So I'm going to tape it. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape at the mouth or the top of the cup. Okay, so this is going to go on here like this. I'm going to loop it around. Okay. See that? So that's the top of the cup. Oh, I can go like this, top of the cup. The straw is going to be off to the side horizontally. Now I want to make sure it's on the edge of the straw and not in the middle, not off to, you know, kind of halfway to the middle, I guess. You really want it on the edge of the straw. Okay, that's important. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing, but this time, see, I'll take my green cup. I'm not going to tape it like this. I'm not going to tape it like, here we go. I'm not going to tape it like this. I want to tape it the opposite way. So it's still in the mouth of the cup, but it's upside down. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll show you. Right now it's facing up like I'm going to drink out of the cup, but I'm going to flip it upside down and still put it on the mouth of the cup. So when I show you this, I'm going to put that tape on the edge of the straw, wrap it around. All right, there we go. Boom. Oops, hold on here. There we go. Okay. So it's kind of like this zigzag. All right. So one is up, The other one's upside down. Okay, on either end of the straw. All right, so I'll give you guys, friends, a little bit of time to work with that. Younger ones might need some buddies to help them. But once you get the tape on, you're halfway done. So pretty good so far. Now, the easy thing is with my second straw, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, same thing. So I'm going to take this one, put that aside, take my cups and tape them to my straw. Got one down. There's the second one. Okay. Make sure these guys are on opposites. All right, so far so good? Okay. All right, so I have these two here. Now again, with the partner, this is going to be the tricky part, is you have to take the two straws and we're going to crisscross them. Okay, we're going to crisscross them. When we crisscross them, we're going to put some tape in the middle to hold them still. All right, try to make sure that your cups are all kind of facing outward, because what's going to happen is when this spins, the wind is going to, come through the cup and push on the cups and spin them around. So if they're too wonky and crooked, just kind of move them back a little bit. And it's okay if they're a little bit crooked. We might make it interesting for our measurements. So I'm going to tape that down. And again, maybe have a buddy help. If you put it flat on the table, that might help too. And if you need extra tape, like I think I'm going to get one more extra piece of tape just to make sure it's secure. All right, here we go. All right. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're definitely getting all of our cups pointing in the same direction. All right, good. Okay. All right, you guys are doing great. So now we have a few more pieces left over. We used most of our materials except for construction paper. So I have a little piece of paper here, and all we're going to do with the construction paper is we can't make a wind vane today, but I would like you guys to kind of remember and practice your cardinal directions. You guys remember them? North, south, east, west. Never eat soggy waffles. So on mine, I'm going to take this piece off here, the cardboard or construction paper, excuse me. All I did was make a really simple, I guess you call it a compass. It's not a real compass, but at least a diagram of a circle with those on there. So I'm going to take my paper, and you can do this with me. Make a big circle. Again, if you have like an index card, I think we mentioned 4x6 just because it's nice and big. And I'm just going to put my letters on here. So the top is north and its opposite is south. So an N and an S. I'll put N and S. North, south, those are your opposites. East and west, okay? Now, besides knowing where or what north, south, east, and west are, a good way to remember for you friends is the sun sets in the west, but it rises in the east. So tonight, when you go home, if you notice where the sun is kind of going down, that side is west, that direction is west. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put a little dot in the middle to tell me where to put a hole. And I'm now going to cut my circle out. And we'll just add this little bit of decoration onto our anemometer. All right, you guys are doing great, friends. Then you guys can take these home. And the last step we'll do here this morning is we're going to practice measuring, because that's the whole point, right? I mean, it's kind of a fun little toy. It's almost like a pinwheel, but I want you guys to learn how to measure the wind. So I'm going to show you how you do that. All right. Okay, so I made this part. The last part is to put everything together with the pencil I was just using. So I'm going to put this into the pencil. There we go. Again, with a buddy or an adult or helper, this is the part you want to be careful with because we're going to use a push pin. I don't want anyone to poke themselves. So with my push pin, I have one of these long school push pins. I'm first going to gently poke a hole into the center of the straws. So be very careful and just kind of gently wiggle that in. That's another reason why paper straws are a little bit better. The plastic straws can be a little tough to poke a hole through. Okay, you can't quite see it, but I do have a pin coming through the other end of the straw. And I'm going to very carefully and safely put this into the eraser top. So I'm just going to poke it down on the eraser top ever so carefully. Push that in. And there we go. Ta-da! And this will spin if the wind is pushing on it. And if you need to straighten those cups up, just make sure they're all facing the same direction. So if they're a little bit crooked, we'll have to fix that. Okay, all right, pretty simple build, and you can do that with even like recycled cups. Maybe try some bigger cups or some smaller cups, okay? All right, I'm going to go back and go to share my presentation and show you a little bit how to measure your wind. Let's go back to that instead. All right. So as far as measuring the speed of the wind, we want to collect some data. And so if you have a journal or a notepad, someplace you want to keep that, that's great. Again, during vacation, that's kind of perfect because you can kind of track the weather over several days. So here's what you want to do. To measure speed, you first want to find a place outside that you can kind of plant your anemometer in the ground. Okay, because there's a pencil, you can kind of stick it in the ground. Or if you can't do that, maybe attach it to something else. Now, the higher the location, the better. Maybe you can attach it to a fence. Okay, as long as it's sticking up on the fence with some tape, maybe strong duct tape. Maybe you can attach it to a table like I have done in this picture, or a chair. But you don't want to put it any place where you're blocking the wind. Okay, next, with your family's permission, or if you have your own phone and it has a slow motion option on there, you're going to take your phone, you're going to videotape and record your anemometer in the wind for about 1 minute on slow motion. Okay, so perhaps pick a windy day. If you get some breeze, it might be good. Otherwise, you might be standing there for a while and nothing's moving. But find a good time when you want to try this out. And then when you watch your video, play it back, and I want you to count how many times one of the colored cups, remember I had different colors, maybe you want to pick the blue cup, watch how many times it goes around in a circle. Okay, and that would be a rotation per minute. So for example, if I want to try this out in the morning, let's see how long it takes for it to rotate in the morning, and then maybe in the afternoon it's different, maybe in the evening it's even a greater difference, okay? But pay close attention to the counting and be patient, okay? You maybe make some tally marks. Repeat your patterns over a couple days and notice what you see. Do you see any patterns? When is it most windy? Morning, middle of the day, night? Okay, so that's kind of a great way to measure, but we want to do things in rotations per minute, and that's a great way to record it on your phones. Then you can kind of see what you're looking at. I'm going to show you an example of what I did. Now, I did use a fan for this, so I kind of cheated, but I want to see if you can count the rotations. The first part is at regular speed, and then I put it in slow motion. Okay, so watch this. There's no sounds, but just watch this. It's going pretty fast. And then I slowed it down. So pick a color, so you can kind of count. Okay, so that's kind of what you want to do. And then you can measure the speeds based on your recordings. Cool? Okay. All right, so our final step here in our engineering design process is improving things. So what would you do to improve your design? I have some samples here that I found from some other builders, and I noticed one there, instead of using the straws, they used cardboard. Okay, so that was kind of light. I noticed at the bottom of their pencils, they put some clay, maybe to stand it up a little bit better, but that was interesting. And then the one on the left I thought was really cool because it looks like it's made out of a recycled water bottle. And so those aren't cups, but those are just pieces of the plastic that are kind of curved. And I'm guessing they probably put it next to a window. So as long as you can get this to spin and then you're counting it, maybe you do use a pinwheel. See what you can find around your house that might be make me great to make a different design. All right, boys and girls, that was our build, but we are moving on to our Kahoot. Okay, so with our Kahoot, oops, let's go ahead, Dad. With our Kahoot, we are going to open up a window, not a tab. And so go ahead and get ready for that, friends. I have the pin there, which is 748-4544. If you want to go ahead and get that ready, I'm going to switch over and see how our Kahoot's doing. But in the meantime, if we have some other comments about wonderings our friends have had about weather, what they would like to try doing with the wind activity, or even if what they'd like to do to improve their anemometer, we'd love to hear that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that over, Mr. Bruder.
Hey, Mrs. Hughes, sorry about that. Would that be a good time to share some of those cool responses that we had?
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, I have a lot of questions for you too.
Okay.
We had some under your wonderings about the weather. Carmen asked, do wind turbines spin on their own?
Well, they have to use the wind, of course, so they aren't going to spin necessarily on their own. It's not like you turn on a switch and it spins like a fan, like maybe you have a house fan. The whole point of a wind turbine is the wind is pushing on the blades themselves, and there's a lot of other technical stuff that might be kind of complicated, but in a nutshell, the wind is spinning the blades, and there's all these wires inside of it, and the blades are attached to something called a generator. So maybe you have a generator house, like when the power goes out. Well, this is a special generator too, that when it kicks on, it's actually making electricity. So imagine that just by spinning our anemometers, imagine that was attached to another piece of machinery that made electricity for you. And that's the really cool thing, is we're not using batteries, we're not using some other form of fuel. You're really just using the wind. And so that's really how a turbine works. I don't know how many of you have maybe traveled around California where you've seen a wind turbine farm. I know there's a really big one in the city called Palm Springs. And when you go there, if you happen to travel there, maybe over vacation, number one, it's really hot, but it's a desert. And it's also in a valley. And so it's a perfect place for wind because the wind's gushing through like this kind of hallway of wind. And the wind just kind of rushes through and turns on all the turbines and gets them spinning. So I can see why the scientists decided to put the turbines in Palm Springs.
Thank you for that. We also had Ryson and a few other friends asking about what does it do when we don't have wind?
Well, that is a good question, and that actually does happen. So when scientists decide where they want to pick turbines, they do a lot of research and try to pick the perfect place, but it's not always going to be 100% working. So maybe again, if you've driven to those areas where you've seen turbine farms, you might see a couple of them that aren't working because maybe the gust just isn't there. But unfortunately, yeah, I mean, if it's not going to work, you really aren't producing electricity. And the goal is that our wind turbines are hopefully powering electricity for a city or state without grabbing fossil fuels to make that happen. Because right now our state uses electricity, but we get that electricity from burning fossil fuels in the plants. And wind turbines are just the alternative. They're the opposite. So, and hopefully the wind service technician can go out and fix it. Maybe it's just something like a wire is broken. Maybe just it's too old. Interesting fact is that wind turbines actually last about 20 years. So if they take good care of them, they should last pretty long. But yeah, if you guys want to be a wind service technician, wind turbine service technician, who knows what the designs will look like in the future.
Thank you for that. And I know you asked, we're about ready to start the Kahoot, but you asked one other question about what activity they would like to try that uses the wind. We had a couple that I wanted to share with you. One had shared about parachuting and another about hang gliding.
Oh, cool. I have to say, I'm not afraid of heights, but I don't think I would want to do either one of those yet. or not or anymore. Maybe when I was younger, maybe, but I like those. I mean, you guys are daring. I think for myself, I want to maybe try parasailing, keep me attached to like a boat or a kite. That would be really fun. I think the kite would, I've seen so many beautiful kites out by the bays. I just think it's fascinating when I watch some of those enthusiasts have these really massive kites and how strong. I mean, if you've seen them at the bay, check it out. If you guys go out to the beach over vacation, some of those are so strong. I see them pulling the men or women who are holding them. It's so strong, it's pulling them on the grass. It's crazy.
With that said, I think we are ready to start the Kahoot game.
All right, fantastic, Mr. Gruder. Let's go ahead and get started, everyone. Our Kahoot is measuring the wind. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. This should be an easy one. What does an anemometer measure? We have triangle, red triangle. Does it measure the number of hurricanes? Yellow circle, does it measure wind direction? Does an anemometer measure wind speed? Blue diamond, or does an anemometer measure wind temperature? We kind of talked a little bit about all of those, maybe not the temperature. So again, what does an anemometer measure? The number of hurricanes, red triangle, the wind direction, yellow circle, the wind speed, blue diamond, or wind temperature, green square. We have a couple more seconds and about 60 answers kind of flying in. Let's see who is going to be the first on the board. 3, 2, 1, and our answer is wind speed. I hope we got that. Okay, it's going to measure the speed. Very good. Let's see who's in the lead. Speedy Penguin, pretty speedy. Wow, an even 1,000. Very good. Okay, question number 2, friends. This object, look at the picture. This object shows where blank are coming from. This object you see here is going to show where blank are coming from. Does the object show where airplanes are coming from? Red triangle. Does the object show where wind is coming from? Yellow circle. Does the object show where the sun is coming from? Blue diamond. Or does the object show where sailboats are coming from? Green square. And bonus, if you remember when the name of this object, we mentioned it a little bit. I do see our decoration there, little rooster. I think I've seen these on maybe barns. You go maybe out into rural areas, you might see a couple of these on a barn. But yeah, I think they're mostly for just decoration. Again, the object here shows where airplanes are coming from, where wind is coming from, where the sun is coming from, or where sailboats are coming from. Let's find out who's got this. Okay, I hope so. Our whole topic has been about wind. Yes, it shows us where the wind is coming from and going to, and that's a wind vane. All right. Oh, social squid. That's an interesting name. I like it. Okay, let's move on. Question number 3 kind of goes along with question number 2. Name our cardinal directions. Can you name our cardinal directions? This should be an easy one where little guys can get this. Is it going to be left, right, up, or down? Red triangle. Our directions called red, yellow, green, blue. Yellow circle. Our cardinal directions 1, 2, 3, or 4. Blue diamond. Or is it north, south, east, west? Our cardinal directions. This one's a stumper. Our cardinal directions, and hopefully you know where your directions are from school to home. That could be a good way to practice over vacation. I would love to see kids practice their directional orientation. Name our cardinal directions. Which one's it going to be? This one should be pretty easy too. 3, 2, 1. Okay, of course. North, south, east, and west. Very good. All right, let's see who's in the lead with this one. Wow, Social Squid still in the lead. Fantastic. But Rapid Sable, highest climber. Good for you. Number 4, my friends, a wind turbine service technician, and we want to finish the sentence, helps turbines function, red triangle. A wind turbine service technician climbs tall towers, yellow circle. A wind turbine service technician works outdoors, blue diamond. Or a wind turbine has a tongue twister. A wind turbine service technician does all of the above. So which one of these does a wind turbine service technician or a wind tech do for their job? Helps turbines function, climbs tall towers, works outdoors, or all of the above. And I would love to know how many of you would love to be a wind turbine service technician in the future. Okay, all right, it is all the above. Yes, of course, it helps them function, but remember, they said in the video, they also work outdoors. I mean, they're outside, and they have to climb the tower. So if you don't like heights, probably don't want to do that job. But if you don't mind problem solving, wow, Social Squid is getting everyone today. Good job. All right, this last one's unique, friends. This is actually a vote. I would love to know what your activity you want to try using air is. So I would love to see how this is going to turn out. So there's no right answer to this. This is a vote. An activity I want to try that uses air is fly a kite. That's me. Red triangle. Do you want to go on a sailboat? Yellow circle. Do you want to go fly on a glider? That's a glider right there. Ah, blue diamond. Or would you want to try skydiving with a parachute? I heard some of our friends say that. Okay, here's the vote. I want to see what everyone's thinking for this. What activity do you want to try that uses air? You want to go fly a kite? Would you want to go on a sailboat? I think that might be my speed. Fly on a glider, like in the picture? Or do you want to try skydiving with the parachute? Oh, that's crazy. I see a lot of the parachutists near my home every weekend. I don't know how they do it. Okay, let's see what everyone said here. Hey, okay. Couple people are some daring people. No one wants to go on a sailboat. 5 people want to go on a sailboat. Okay, very cool. All right, friends. Extra points for was the first person answering. And so we'll see who our winner today is going to be on the podium. Great shark, number 3. Love sharks. Number 2, great quail. A lot of great animals. I think Miss Kudos might have both of these at the Living Coast. Social Squid, not surprised. All right, very good, my friends. You guys did an awesome, awesome job. I'm going to go ahead and find my cursor again. Let's go ahead and finish off our presentation today. So, let's see, get there. Oops. I went too fast. My fingers are all over the place today. Okay, Miss Kudos is going to be our next presenter. And I know you guys are counting down to fall break, but when we do return back, 3rd week of October, our wonderful Miss Kudos is going to be doing our next live event from the Living Coast Discovery Center. She's going to have another awesome presentation with some very cool animals, maybe a great quail, maybe a great shark, but all animals from our beautiful San Diego habitat. So I'd love to see you, have you guys visit and see her then. But in the meantime, my friends, please check out our CVESD Innovation and Instruction channel. There are tons of archived live events we've had from the past years. And I know there's going to be something fun for everyone to build over vacation. So with that being said, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.